Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure and privilege for me to speak to this august forum. I think regarding Pakistan, the key statistics have already been covered by Harry. Presently, we are able to produce about 14,000 megawatt out of the installed capacity and facing a shortage between 3,000 to 5,000 megawatt depending. Presently, we are producing about 14,000 megawatt out of the installed capacity and facing 3,000 to 5,000 megawatt shortage depending upon the peak hours and the seasonal variation. So, as the secretary from Bangladesh has pointed out, everybody knows that all regional countries are deficit in the energy and particularly electricity. But the dominant factor is that there are huge variations due to the different seasons and variation in the different regions of various countries. So that actually gives a potential of export or trade of electricity because these variations can make surpluses. Then there are transmission and distribution bottlenecks. As we have seen for India, they are not able to use their full potential of generation. Similarly, the case with Pakistan, there are certain areas where due to transmission and distribution bottlenecks, electricity could be made available, but this is not possible. As far as trade of electricity between the countries and import and export of power is concerned, I mean, this is a fact which cannot be overemphasized because every country has what we call the comparative advantage theory in economics. So there are some countries who have advantage of huge gas reservoirs, there are countries who have advantage in huge hydro resources. So we need to work on this framework where we can develop and build infrastructure and interconnection for import and export of electricity. Pakistan is already working with India for import of electricity. I remember in 2002-2003, Pakistan was surplus and there were negotiations between Pakistan and India for sale of electricity to India by Pakistan, although it were never matured. But since then, I think this job and this negotiations are going on. Now Pakistan is in deficit and Pakistan intends to import electricity from India, for which a few rounds of negotiations have already been undertaken. Similarly, Pakistan is already importing 100 megawatt from Iran in the Balochistan area. We are working on import of electricity of 1,000 megawatt from Iran, for which arrangement and infrastructure is being constructed. There are CASA 1000 project for import of electricity from Tajikistan, which is very active, and that will also bring in electricity to Pakistan, which will be cheaper. Unfortunately, Pakistan during the 90s have built up generation capacity on oil. And at that time, nobody would have thought that oil would touch $160 a barrel. I remember in my previous job with an industrial group, we were working on the acquisition of a Pakistan state oil company, and we spent almost one day discussing with our financial advisor whether the price of $22 per barrel is aggressive or this is reasonable for making cash flow projections. So, and now what we see, that when we see $110, $120 a barrel, we say that the price has come down. So this is the scenario. In this scenario, Pakistan has about 36% of its generation on oil. So we are in a position now where we have capacity, and sometimes we are not able to run it because there are affordability issues. People can't afford such an expensive electricity. In this situation, if we can import from the neighboring countries where the electricity is generated through coal or through hydro resources, this will be a blessing for the economic stability of Pakistan. So this is where we need to actually work very seriously. In this context, the regulatory framework is not very well defined because there are examples of import of electricity because there are few projects coming up in Azad Kashmir, and they will supply electricity to Pakistan. It is being looked at as import of electricity. So in this context, the rules and regulations are there, but they need to be refined when it comes to import from India or other countries. But basic framework has been established by the regulator. We welcome both private and public sector from India to export electricity to Pakistan. And the first step would be the creation of infrastructure and interconnection facilities through which actually both import and export can take place during various seasons when any country is in surplus. By taking this initiative, I think where actually all of us want to move is the regional electricity market within the SAARC countries. So I end up with inviting the Indian public sector and private sector both to come to Pakistan for export of electricity, and maybe at some time they can import electricity through this infrastructure, and we may reach the dream of setting up regional electricity market very soon. Thank you.